You are listening to the Angie True Podcast Radio Network.
I'm not sponsored, but gray matter, blue light glasses are really stylish and nice, and I like them. So buy them. Gray matter, sponsor me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bananas Toast podcast, where we are recapping the Challenge Season 37, America's fifth favorite sport. And without further ado, it is! Like, even ESPN is covering this now.
Oh, God.
Without further ado, I'm one half of this podcast, the Angie 2.
And I'm the other half, everyone's favorite father figure, weird uncle, completely shook that truly this is turning into America's fifth favorite sport. The pancake eating, black truck driving, dog watching, happy to have an iPhone that's blue, Papa D.
Episode 1. I keep almost saying 2, but it's episode 1.
Because it feels like 2, and I don't blame you. But yes, episode 1, and we just got through covering episode 0, and that shit, good God, just the intro alone, and now we get to see everyone earn their keep. Basically, the way this starts is we got all the Euro agents, all the world agents, global agents, literally lining up outside, getting ready to go on a race through a jungle, because apparently the American agents were taken. They were strapped to a bunch of cinder blocks and chain. And literally what's going to end up happening is the global agents will have to race through a jungle on a path to get some sledgehammers with keys attached to them. They will then take the sledgehammers with the keys, run to a beach, and then they will then, at that point, get to pick the partner that they want to be partnered with. They have to unlock them, and that'll be their partner. It is first come, first serve. In which case, basically, then the horn blows and they're off, doing what they need to do to get what they need to get. In which case, as people are rolling through, Ashley is offended that she isn't picked first. Just literally like, what the hell? Oh, like, how about two-time champ? You're literally yelling two-time champ, and it's like, no, because some of them probably watched the show before and know for a fact, good God in heaven, yes, you're a two-time champion. You are also messy as fuck. Like, when you're drunk, you get insane and crazy. You've mellowed out, but make no mistake, you still get messy and crazy. Emmanuel frees Casey to work with her, and then we basically just people start grabbing people left and right.
Yeah, so like it's funny because Emmanuel's one of the ones Ashley's yelling at, and he's just like, "Where's Casey? Where's Casey?" And Casey's like, "Hi," and he unlocks her, and we see that most of these rookies have well, not rookies. I keep wanting to say rookies, but it's just global agents because some of them are vets. They basically know who they want to work with. So he goes for Casey. You know, Kells runs straight to Tori. Kyle is torn between Amanda and Nani. He ends up picking Amanda. I'm so happy. That's my dark horse pick. Like, I love them as a team. I hope they win. I know there's a lot of strong teams that could knock them out towards the end, but I want them to go far, and I'd love for them to win. Nam goes to
reluctantly.
Nam goes to Michelle. He wants Michelle. Josh goes to Lauren, who we haven't really seen. There's some tea behind this. Lauren is, some people have been saying the D edit, which isn't fair because D had a strong edit until they had to chop her out as much as possible. But I mean, she was still in it until like close to the end, because I think she was like final elimination. This reminds me more of Eddie Williams from Vendettas, where you saw like 2 glimpses of him, but he never spoke a word and then he was gone. So Lauren did something to get removed from the show, and it actually isn't confirmed what happened. All that's known is she got into an inappropriate argument with Anissa. So she ends up getting removed from the house at some point. I've heard the party this happens in episode 2. So we'll have to see next week if they even discuss this or if she's just a ghost. But we just see glimpses of her. Like, we see her running up to Josh and she's like, "Are you Josh?" And he's like, "Yeah." let's do this. And that's about it. So whatever happened, everyone who gets in an inappropriate argument with Anissa, it always ends up being about race. So hopefully it's not that again, but that'd be like the third or fourth person. Logan goes to Anissa, speaking of her, which is what Nam told him to do. So Nam and Kyle's strategy of telling these new dudes to go to Anissa so they don't get stuck with Anissa is working, because he runs to Anissa. Huey decides to go with Ashley. Bettina really wants Corey, but so does Priscilla. And so they just full out sprint to him. Bettina gets there first and gets Corey. So Priscilla's like, well, fine, where's Nelson? Like, I'll go for his best friend. Gabo wants Nani because she's cute. And then Renan gets Michaela. Emmy goes for Corey Lay. And then Berna wanted CT, and she's like, where's CT? Where's CT? And she finally finds him like hiding behind the pillar and gets CT. Esther goes with Fessy. Tracy goes with Devin, and Devin's not very pleased by this. Big T wants Tommy. And finally, Tatcha gets Jeremiah. So we've got our pairs. And many of the smarter teams notice that there are a series of numbers, letters, and colors on these blocks. So when they notice this, they not only try to memorize some of it, but they leave the pillars mostly intact so they can go back and look for it. And they like break out the chains by destroying as little of the blocks as possible, where some teams just sledgehammer the whole thing to smithereens. So the first team ready to go is Anissa and Logan. And Logan has seen the show, and he knows Anissa doesn't do well under pressure. Yelling at her is not going to motivate her. So he chooses to be supportive, like, come on, we can do this. And it works. And we've seen this work with Anissa in the past. The team starts to carry, their heavy safes to another location. And when they get there, they have to put the safe down and then put in a correct code to open the safe. And if the wrong code is entered 3 times, then they have a 5-minute penalty where they have to sit and wait the 5 minutes. So the teams that started memorizing it have a very clear advantage. The ones who didn't but knew something would be up and left their pillars intact just have to run back and get the numbers. And so they'll usually have one person run back and get a number, another person run back, get a number. But then some teams destroyed everything, such as Priscilla and Nelson's team. And they're just kind of screwed at that point. And we start to see, a big shift in how the teams, what times they finish. So Anissa and Logan Win. Anissa has won the first daily in 3 out of 4 of her most recent seasons. Because Anissa, which we've said before, we dog on Anissa every season at some point. It will probably happen again, but it's mainly because of the endurance. Anissa's not bad at a lot of other things. She's smart. She has strength. She has social game. She just doesn't have the endurance to do a final. And that's the problem, because people keep her around because she is good at a lot of dailies. And then when they need to trim the fat, she's the first to go and she throws a pity party. But for something like this, where it's a very short distance run, Anissa's perfect for this. She was able to tell Logan what to do to memorize the code. He motivates her and they cross the finish line with Michaela and Renan hot on their heels. And then they didn't show everyone's placement, but from the ones they showed, we had Tori and Kells, Casey and Emmanuel, Fessy and Esther, Bettina and Corey, Kyle and Amanda. And then we switch back to where the safes are, and there's Ashley and Huey and Nani and Gabo. And Nani and Gabo are calm, and Ashley is having her first meltdown of the season.
Ashley literally is trying to push in these numbers, but apparently then the thing won't unlock after she pushes it. And at this point, Huey, because Huey grabbed her, is melting down and freaking out. Like, I'm going to smash it if the fucking thing doesn't open. And is just literally losing his shit. And to where Ashley is literally making the comment of, oh my God, I got picked, or I'm partnered with somebody who talks more than me. How is that fucking possible? And we're just like, Karma's a bitch. That's how. Just literally, Huey is losing his mind. Like, I'm gonna smash it open if this thing doesn't work. And then, like, she tries punching the code in again, and apparently the thing won't. It will let her turn it, but it won't unlock. And then finally, Huey does it after their 5 minutes is up, and that's the most frustrating part. Is they know they're in last, and Huey does not want to go home first, and neither does Ashley. But in which case, finally it gets open. They're running to the finish line. Gabo and Nani are already gone, so they're pulling up the. So literally, Huey and Amanda are pulling up the rear, and what ends up in which case, then this is where once they finish, we get the first TJ fake out of the season because TJ is like, so Gabo, Ashley, you guys
Huey.
came in last. I'm sorry, Huey, Ashley, you guys came in last, so you're done. Ashley is breaking down at this moment, and tears are damn near running down her face. Huey is like, son of a bitch, and just upset, getting like just about to go full Irish, and then he's like, you're done, getting last place. I'm just like, fuck you, TJ. Fuck you to hell, you piece of shit. Why is this a thing? Why is this a thing? This wasn't a thing before. Like, who gave you freedom, son of a no?
I feel like this was just improvised because, you know, when they're waiting for those 5 minutes to be up, Ashley makes the comment, you know, we're probably purged out because some seasons do have a purge where the last place in the first daily goes home immediately. And Huey's like, what does purge mean? And Ashley's like, well, it means we're in last place, so we're going home. And of course, production hears this. These people have mics. There's cameramen everywhere. You know, there's security. So they're feeding info to TJ. He's probably got a receiver in his ear where they're like, okay, Ashley and Huey finally have their code. They'll be there in a couple minutes. They're afraid they're getting purged. And so TJ's probably just rubbing his hands together. And he's like, oh, I'm going to use this. So I feel like this wasn't even planned for him to have a fake out. I think he just heard that Ashley was afraid of a purge. And he decided just to roll with it for a brief second. And then was like, nope, just kidding. You're done getting last. But let this be a lesson to you. So maybe there will be a purge later on. He then announces that it's another $1 million pot. As usual, we don't know how it's going to be split. We don't know if it's going to be pairs, if there's going to be one winner. We don't know if it's pairs win, but winner steals all. We don't know if second place gets something, third place gets something. We just don't know yet. Just that there is $1 million and you get a part of this money. I'm assuming there's at least 2 people that can get the money because he says it's a share of $1 million. So it might be a 50K, 50K or something slightly less. He also announces Anissa and Logan are called the agency, and they get to decide who goes into elimination up against the house vote nominee. And Anissa is not happy about this, which I'm happy to see because most of the time they don't bring this up until halfway through the season. But most vets hate that they get to choose who goes against the house vote because that puts a target on their back. When there's a house vote, a lot of people find out, who voted for who, but then there's a bunch of people who contributed. But if you just point at someone and say you're going in, then now your name is in their mouth. So Anissa is not happy that she has to do this all over again.
And she should that. In which case, to take back to the house. Once they get back to the house, Brendan and Michaela, and they get to know her to go home, and they're playing smart, and they're happy they didn't win, just because they don't want that target on their back. Ashley already tells Huey to shut up at a deliberation. Like, literally, she comes back to the house, and she's just flayed up with him. When during deliberation, do not say anything. Just don't. And I'm like, all thing is like, you're right. Because in this house, especially this early, it doesn't take, all people looking for it is the easy vote. That's it. That's how you make it week to week. You shift the target from you keep your mouth shut, and you don't start any bullshit. As long as you do that, for the most part, they will trim all the excess fat, aka the rookies, because that's how this fucking season's gonna end up going, and I'm already pissed. But basically, as long as you keep your mouth shut and don't do a lot, for the most part, you'll be okay as far as the House vote goes. The House vote is literally we're picking out the problem children. We're looking at people who are starting a bunch of bullshit. The minute we find those people, those are the ones we vote in. And make no mistake, vets are mastering this. So that's why vets are especially keeping their damn mouths shut, because they know if they cause enough issues and enough bullshit, the like the rookies, can band together because it's an individual vote. They can band together and say, we're sending in a vet. Even if a rookie has to go in, it is what it is, but we're sending in a vet because we don't want any vets here. But yes, they're just strategizing about that. In which case, Gabo and Nani get to know each other. Gabo's a party boy from the Euro version of Jersey Shore called Warsaw Shore. I gain respect for him purely for the next bit. He admits he has popcorn muscles. For those of you who don't know, popcorn muscles are muscles that are mostly all show and no go. What that means is, like bodybuilders, they put on muscle. This doesn't mean they're weak per se, but this does mean that their muscles are for show. They've focused on enhancing their body, but without actually being able to use it for function. In which case, this is the main difference between bodybuilders and weightlifters. Weightlifters are thick individuals by birthright. Not wrong, okay, by method. That's what they want because because weightlifters literally focus on technique and how to lift weight, and they lift a lot. One of my favorite weightlifters, of course, Mark Henry, who is a WWE wrestler and Hall of Famer, now AEW announcer. He's also competed in the World's Strongest Man competition and is a silver medalist in the Olympics for competitive weightlifting. This man can and indeed has pulled a semi truck at one point because that's how strong he is. He has also put his feet up against a Lincoln Town car and had them gun it while his back is against a wall, and literally this car is spinning its wheels out because that's how strong he is, that he is stopping a car, we're going to say going about 40 miles an hour. It doesn't take a lot to make wheels smoke when the car is just standing in place, and that's how strong he is. In which case, that's what functional strength is. It's not just building muscle, it's learning how to use it, how to move. In which case, the biggest difference besides the body style is mental. Weightlifters are mentally prepared for the pain and agony it takes to lift the weight they need to lift and do what they need to do. Bodybuilders are used to the pain of lifting what they need to lift to look good, but that's their main focus mentally. As long as they look good, they're fine. They're just pumping iron to make sure that they look nice because soul is the goal, size is the prize, and it's game's the clock, motherfucker. Frank, some dude off Facebook. I forget his name, but yes. No, but yeah, we go into that because I had to Google popcorn muscles. That took me down an entire different rabbit hole. But yes, he is happy. But ultimately, he's happy that he's with her because she's hot and of her experience. And also, basically, he's flirting.
Yeah, I also have a lot of props I give to him for admitting all that, because those are things that, we do see, but people try to hide it. And he was just open, like, I like your experience, but you're also really hot. And I do work out, but I have popcorn muscles, and hopefully we can work good together and we can see a final. And Nani's taken aback, but I think she's also impressed that he's just so honest about this stuff. It's not an issue that's going to have to come up later, for the first time. He's just openly admitting this, and hopefully she's taking this as a way of figuring out for different dailies and eliminations. Here's how we need to work it to get through this. Meanwhile, Anissa is sitting with Logan, and she thanks him for just like pushing her in a motivating way and not in a derogatory way. And he promises to always do that for her. He was like, I'm not a confrontational person, and that's not going to help you. I'd rather motivate you. We both get it done. And he admits, he's like, the next person with this much seniority is CT on the show.
Yep.
Well, actually, no. Anissa came, didn't he? I don't know. They were back to back. Either Anissa or CT came first, but they were one after another. I think CT was like a season before Anissa. But he's like, you have so much experience. Of course, I'm going to listen to you. Like, I'm not going to discount you, because even if you don't have the endurance, you've got the experience and you know how this game works. You've seen it evolve. I'm on your side. And then we jump to CT. He's talking to Berna, and he likes her energy and that she was a former acrobat. And he's excited because he knows this means that she is very durable. She doesn't have a lot of fear. She's willing to do whatever she needs to win. And he likes that because that's improving his odds. And then the last new pairing we see is Tori and Kells. She thinks Kells is a huge threat, and he responds by giving her a head kiss, and they get kind of flirty. So there might be some Tori and Kells coming up on this season.
Because Tori knows God has a sense of humor. Because Tori flat out is like, I'm not gonna come. I'm gonna come on this show, and I'm not gonna get a guy. I'm gonna focus on this money. I'm gonna get what I need to do. And then God says, ha ha ha, you funny, and then puts her with Kells, and she's just looking at Kells like, you son of a bitch. How dare you be attractive, tall, and black? Like, you just African Adonis who's from America, son of a bitch. Just straight up is just like, son of a bitch. I didn't want to, but I may have to break this. I may have to break off a piece of this Kit Kat bar, son of a bitch. But yeah, they flirt, and then basically later that time, a little later, we have Devin, Amanda, Ashley, and Josh kind of come together in a little meeting, and basically they strategize. They basically all state that they know the vets have to stick together because flat out they're outnumbered 2-1, just straight up 2-1. They know that if these rooks can pull it together, every vet's going home, or at least every vet's going into elimination. Every vet's a target. So basically what they state is they have a truce, not an alliance, according to Josh, not an alliance. It's literally, it's a truce, basically. And Devin co-signs it, basically saying, we're going to just make a truce, and it's as simple as this. We will not send any vets in until there are no more viable rookie options available. At that point in time, it is what it is. And I'm literally looking at this show right now, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's starting again. It's starting again. It's starting again. We now just have these vets trying to come in here and run this game. Yes, there's no Bananas. Yes, there's no Wesley. But at the same time, it's like, son of a bitch, because it's one of those things where, spoiler alert, during the elimination, TJ never points out or says anything about them needing a golden skull, which I loved, because needing a golden skull means you have to go down there to get your ticket to run that final. You can't get out of this. You can't get into the final without it. And this is what I liked. This is what I wanted. I wanted them to not avoid elimination, and that is what looks like every vet's going to be doing this season. Every vet's going to be just trying to avoid elimination. And if you happen to be the rookie that's with them, guess what? That means you're avoiding elimination too, you hope, as we find out later. But them just like, oh my God.
So my hope with this, because Papadi and I talked about this for like a good 30, 45 minutes before we even started recording episode 0, episode 1. I mean, traditionally this did happen, but eventually, like, vets did have to cannibalize themselves on every season, and it made for explosive arguments. So normally when you'd have a final, you'd have a couple of people that did skate to the end, but then you have people that had to fight to the end. Even if it was, a vet who just went in once, or it was a rookie who went in 3 or 4 times. So you had this mix of like, this person knew how to avoid eliminations. Like CT, if you look at his elimination record, it's extremely low because people just don't throw this man into eliminations. Whereas Wes and Johnny have a much higher elimination. Even Jordan has a high one just because he can't shut up and people want to try to get rid of him because he won't shut up. But my hope is, because they started the skulls after War of the Worlds 2, because of the 11 finalists, only like 3 went into elimination. And out of those 3, it was mainly just 2 of them. Like Ashley went in once, and it was mainly Jordan and Tori that kept being thrown in over and over, and the rest all skated to the final. And people were so up in arms that that's when they did the skull twist for 2 seasons. So, just looking at how the challenge normally goes, eliminating 34, 35, and 36, I feel like, let's say we have an 8-person final again, because that's what we had last season, and I think the season before was 8-person as well. Probably 1 or 2 of those people will not go into elimination. We've probably got 1 or 2 that will be in multiple eliminations, and the rest will be in 1, maybe 2. And I'll be happy with that. I just don't want it to be where literally everyone skated to the end. If there's 1 or 2, it's congratulations, you're a good political player. I don't think she could win yet, but that's pretty much the game Big T's trying to get along, where she gets enough people on her side. And it's working. It got her to the final elimination last season. But you can note, like, you've got a strong political game, but you shouldn't have a team of all strong political players who did that. So I'm hoping it's a mix, because I adored, this first episode. And I don't want to have to look back at the end of the season and be like, but the final fell flat, I want to see stuff happen. And we see, even from the trailer, there's a lot of infighting with the vets. There's even a fight between vets. We've seen, as we'll get into, these rookies are feisty. Like I mentioned in our episode 0 podcast recording, I messaged Papa D and our other friend Brittany halfway through this episode, and I was like, I freaking love these rookies. I love this episode. Like, these rookies woke up and chose violence. So I feel like even though there's a veteran truce, these rookies are good, where if enough of them win, they can flip this whole thing. But B, I see it being a lot of back and forth. And once this drama starts with all the alcohol, all the hookups, all the bad blood, someone's going to crack this veteran truce. It always happens. And, the rookies try to almost have a truce, and that didn't last more than a day. So I think we'll be good. I'm hoping we're good. I'm crossing my fingers we're good. I want people in this final that had to fight for it. And I'll just say again, I do like CT, but I hope these people know, if any other dude wants to win, they need to get that man out of there. Especially now that he's back in shape. There's no more dad bod CT. He already won 3 finals on a dad bod. Now he is fit CT, fresh off a win. They need to get rid of this man, rookie and vet, if they want to win. If they put him in, he's probably the male winner, and female is up for grabs. If you are not Corey and Nelson, not only do you want to get rid of CT, but you also want to get rid of Corey and Nelson, because they're probably the next best bets to win. So if you're one of these people that probably will win one day, but you don't know when, like a Kyle, you need to get rid of those 3. And Corey and Nelson are so volatile sometimes, especially Nelson. Like, set Nelson up to fight with Fessy, and then get Fessy loaded up to go with CT. And then Corey's numbers are gone because his 1 and 2 are Nelson and CT. And that's going to, make it easy to put Corey in. And then some of these other dudes have a chance. So that's my spiel on how to win if you're a male. The women are better, but there's more of an open shot for a lot of them. I can't pinpoint who would win on the women's side. Ashley's always a threat, but Ashley's beatable in the season. If they can put her in enough, just as we've seen from this episode, how quickly she melt down. Ashley's very beatable if you don't just let her cakewalk to the final.
Pretty much.
So yeah, there's a veteran truce. They don't even have to like each other. It's just we will not say each other's names until every last rookie is gone. We'll see how this goes. The next day, Michelle and Anissa are doing yoga in the morning. This excites me because yoga, is a lot harder than it looks. I am not a fan of yoga, except for to take Instagram pictures. I admit that. I like Pilates. Pilates is one of the main ways I stay in shape. Yoga is extremely difficult. And the good thing about yoga is it's great for if you're coming back from injuries or getting started, because it's not go, go, go. You don't need the endurance, but you're working the muscles, you're getting a burn. And seeing Anissa doing yoga is great. So they're doing yoga. We see Coriel, Jeremiah, and Kells bonding, and they're lifting weights. Corey reiterates how important it is to be a representation for Black queer youth, which again, I love that he's there in that position. And then it's announced that it's a double birthday. It's Michelle and Logan's birthdays, and there's going to be a party that night. And neither one really wants to celebrate their birthday, but Anissa's making them. And I can't even fault her because Anissa's me in the situation, because I love birthdays and I love celebrating birthdays. And when there's someone like my husband or my best friend or my mother, who all three are not big on celebrating their birthday, I normally find a way to make them do it anyway. So that's just the person I am. So I get it. And these people want to party. These parties that we've seen just in these episodes, this is the most fun these people have had in like 3 or 4 seasons. It's crazy. And, Anissa does the bananas toast for the entire house. And then Devin brings them a cake, and he's just wearing a thong, and he's dancing in the thong, and everyone's having
a thong. It is a black and gold Speedo. It is not a thong.
This is true. It had a back to it.
Okay, he is not wearing butt floss. Nothing wrong with him wearing butt floss. I just want to make that clear. This is not a thong. If this is also if this is what Nelson brought, Nelson, you ain't wearing no thong. You were wearing a Speedo, which is fine. You do you, but let's get our terms right, people. Like, it is a Speedo. It is not a thong. But yes, he then dances provocatively after giving them the cake, and then jumps in the pool. Part of me thinking he was going to go for a lap dance, and some of these women look like they would have been into it. But frankly, he just jumps into a pool and calls it and proceeds to have fun. Emmanuel just wants Michelle sexually. Like, just sees that, like, I'm in love. I want her. I want it. Let's go.
Yeah, and Michelle is trying to avoid temptation. She does so far in this episode, but they're doing that eye flirting back and forth. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Because if you watch the trailer, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't, but if you watch the trailer, Emmanuel is flirting with a different woman, and that woman is flirting with someone else right now. So already we've got drama and chaos brewing for this season. But meanwhile, we have Ashley and Nelson, who are friends with benefits, because Ashley moved to Nelson, not only his hometown, but to his street. They are neighbors. And so they hook up. And Ashley is Amanda's number one girl, and Nelson is Amanda's number one guy. And both Ashley and Nelson are pretty mentally unstable people most of the time on the challenge. And so Amanda is worried that if something goes wrong with their hookups, they could implode, and that hurts her game. So she's like, we see another Nani Casey scene. Nani's confiding in Kyle that she cares for Casey a lot, and that she's been with other men, other women, but none have made her feel the way Casey makes her feel. Then Casey comes over, and they have like intimate kisses, whereas like the rest of these people were just like making out like horny teenagers because they're in a pandemic and they're drunk. Nani and Casey, they have this softness to them where you can tell they really do care about each other. It's not lust, it's love in this one case. For lust, though, we have Fessy and Amanda. So I just mentioned on our episode 0 recap that Amanda was thirsting after this man on Twitter the entire time he was on Big Brother like 4 years ago, and they're finally on a challenge together, and they're hiding because remember he hates, I mean, he doesn't hate, Nelson hates Fessy, and Nelson's Amanda's #1 guy. So they're secretly making out. And it's funny because if you remember last season, Gabby had to endure all of Fessy's like horrible attempts at flirting to get a couple of kisses. And Amanda just flat out tells him, like, you're so annoying that I'm just going to kiss you so you can't talk. And like, shut up and just kiss me. And she just wants the lust session. And then Corey busts them and is like, let's see what Nelson has to say about this. And Amanda's just like, oh God, I'm in trouble.
Yep. Because again, then they do go find Nelson finally.
Nelson was more mature than I expected him to be, though, which I think shows his bond with Amanda. Because I think there's few people who could have gotten away with this with Nelson. And he openly says he doesn't trust Fessy at all. But Amanda's like a little sister to him. So he respects her decision. And he doesn't care if there's a romance between them. But he's not personally willing to forgive Fessy yet. So that's actually props to Nelson. That's a lot more mature than I expected, and probably one of the most mature things he's ever said or done on this show in his entire duration. Fessy admits he was selfish last season, and at this point Esther is like cringing because she's like, what have I gotten myself into? Like, she knows that you should lay low, and this guy is a target apparently, which makes her a target. And Nelson throws back in his face, you know, you ruined our friendship and you didn't even win the season. So you ruined our friendship for nothing. And he pulls the line that he isn't angry, he's hurt. And there's a difference. And that's so true. And I know that probably went straight to Fessy's heart. It's like when people say, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I think that's true. I think Nelson's just such a loyal person that at this point it's been like a year and a half since it happened. Not a year and a half. Wow. Probably like 9 months since it happened. I don't think he's mad anymore. I think he really is just hurt that someone he was close to stabbed him in the back and literally tried to break his broken thumb more for a gold skull. And Fessy just tells Nelson, like, you know, I owe you. You don't have to believe me, but I'll try to show you when the time comes. And Nelson's like, okay, whatever. And Amanda's no longer horny and just wants to go to bed at this point.
Pretty much. In which case, while all this is happening, the vets are feeling out the Survivor winners. Corey's grilling Michelle and Michaela a little about, like, so how would you work this out? How would you handle this? Y'all are survivors. That's nothing but politics, backstabbing and lying, and surviving out in the wilderness. In which case, Michelle's playing dumb. Like, I don't know. This is a different situation. And like, no, you're doing the smart thing because this is literally a trap. Meanwhile, the vets are literally just fierce Survivor players because they know politics-wise, they can come in this game and run this shit if they're not kept in check. And I don't blame them. I used to watch a little bit of Survivor. I never got super into it, but I did watch it for a bit. And it's everything you say. It's everything they think it is. It is literally these people. It is Big Brother. It's Big Brother in the wilderness. It's literally, you have to compete to get, and this is competing to get some basic ass stuff. This is competing to get a box of matches to start a fire at night. Like, these people are fighting literally over basic ass things that are just going to make their life easier on whatever hellhole island they were sent to with the wilderness camera crew to build their own shelter, sleep outside, and do what needs to be done. And it's just
the crazy thing. This is a fun fact, but some people might not know. Originally, it was confirmed that these Survivor people, both the global agents and the American ones, were going to be on the show. But Jay Surrett, who's been on the past 2 seasons, and another Michelle from Survivor were also going to be on. So we're going to have 2 more Survivor players. But Jay and the other Michelle broke their quarantine when they went to the hotel. They like left the hotel or something and broke the quarantine and got kicked off. Right. And so I don't know who the replacements were. I just know they weren't Survivor people. So 2 people on this cast were added last minute, basically, when they broke protocol. But it would have been a completely different season, I think, with 2 more Survivor people. They easily could have mopped the floor, especially with Jay being a returning vet at that point, and all of these rookies. And we're about to see Michaela get in some trouble, and he and Michaela have a past. So it would have been crazy. And these vets are smart to realize we gotta get rid of these Survivor people. They have help in that, because the American Survivor people are basically doing their own thing and ignoring our Survivor Romanian friends. And Emmy don't like that. Emmy has already been looking for some drama, and also Emmy is feeling a little left out. And so she goes straight to Tori and Anissa, and she says that Michaela and Renan and Tommy and Michelle were upstairs, and Michaela had a list of who to trust and who to vote in. And I will say, I know that Laurel does this a lot, but Laurel is a super vet and she's not going to be targeted. Michaela should not have done this on day one. And, it's a list of who to trust, who not to trust, who to vote in. And that Emmy walked in the room and they all try to hide what they were doing, even though she's another Survivor person. So she's going to go help the vets instead. And, that'll throw a favor onto herself to keep her safe a little bit longer. And of course, Tori and Anissa want to know more. So she says the first on the list to eliminate was Anissa. And Tori's like, well, where was I? And Tori's the top of who not to trust. And they're just like, are you pulling your leg? And Emmy's like, I swear on my music career. And I mentioned before, Emmy is actually like a real musician who has a real music career with like millions of streams on YouTube and Spotify. So it's not like just being a SoundCloud rapper and be like, I swear on my music career. That's like never going to go anywhere. Like she's making money from this. So this is a serious swear. And they thank her for telling them all of this. And the next day they go with Devin, because Devin has to be involved. They go with Devin to Huey and Kells. And they're like, do you know about this? And Huey's like, I saw Michaela put a list in her bag and she wouldn't talk to me about it. And Kells is just like, I don't like this list because I'm not involved. So I don't want to be a part of some list I'm not involved with. And Anissa goes to Snoop. She takes Huey with her and he's like, this is where she was standing. And they're like trying to find this list. And the house is starting to very quickly freak out. Like Big T has heard this now and she's questioning Tommy about it. And she's like, there's no numbers to overtake the vets. So you got to be on my side or I've got to get rid of you, basically. And Tommy wants to stay. And he's like, I will throw in Michaela to show everyone I'm not working with Survivor and get a target off us. So Michaela was smart in episode 0 to know that like she needed an alliance other than just Survivor because these people would turn on her. They don't have as strong of a bond to her as they do to each other. And people are just going crazy. Michaela, Big T confronts Michaela and she's like, no, I'm just going to grab the list and show everyone what it is because it's not what you think. She runs up and comes back with a list and she's like, it's just partners, but it's divided into like 3 chunks. And she's like, and then teams. So like the list doesn't make sense. Like what teams? Like there's no teams. There's just pairs. So why are there sections? And also the fact that she did this makes a lot of the vets even more suspicious. Like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Just calm down. And this is making Michelle and Tommy freak out because Michaela's just getting more and more reckless. And instead of just saying Michaela, the vets are now saying Survivor. And that implicates all of them except Emmy and Emmanuel because Emmy is a snitch. And so she has bought for the Romanians some time.
She really did. In which case, like when Kayla's just freaking out and she's trying to go put out these fires and it's not working. Emmy's a fucking rat. It's a negative, but at the same time, like, oh god, you're kind of hot and you have blue hair.
I adore Emmy because I could see me being like more mad at her or not trusting of her if I was in this house. But one thing we've been missing on recent seasons is this chaotic energy. And we got it briefly with the War of the World 1 vets, and then most of them had to get themselves banned. So we lost it, and we've had a couple of dull seasons. And so we've got a lot of chaotic energy, and I think Emmy's the top of that, which we see this whole nomination ceremony. This is the part where I messaged Papa D and our friend Brittany. I'll go through this. I'm just going to go through my notes on this, and then Papa D, you can go on any kind of notes and rants and stuff you want, because it happens so fast and there's so much. So they do nominations, and TJ announces he's not even there this time. He's on a screen. He's like, there's 20 minutes to target your enemies. And so as what do they call them? Hang on, where's that in my notes? The agency. As the agency, Anissa and Logan are like, well, who wants to speak first? And Michaela pulls a no, because she decides to open her mouth first, and that's never a good thing to do when you're the target. So she's trying to, defend herself a little bit first, and then she tries to throw Michelle under the bus, because this is what Survivor people do. And she's like, every time my name has come up, Michelle has been involved in the conversation. And as a Survivor winner, Michelle knows the game really well. And so, good job, Michelle, for putting the target on me. But what you're doing is telling lies. And so now Michelle is livid, and she's like, I have never said your name. I was not a part of the conversations about you. You're out here doing crazy stuff with lists and doing way too much and saying way too much. And as a result, people are avoiding me like the plague because I'm Survivor like you. And so you're ruining my game. And they're starting to squabble. And Emmy just quietly, there's this adorable 22-year-old with braces, and her hair is knotted like Sailor Moon buns on her head. She just raises her hand, doesn't even say anything, just raises her hand like shyly, like a schoolgirl. And Anissa sees this and is like, ooh. And she's like, Emmy has something to say. And Emmy's like, I was there and I saw everything. There's 3 categories. And she says it, I love the way she said, she's like, categories or something because of her accent. But she's like, there's 3 categories of people, and it's who to trust, who not to trust, and people to eliminate. Drop that. And like the house goes wild, except for the 3 Survivor American people. Like everyone else is like, yeah, and they're just like, and Emmy's partner is also like, because she just put a target on them. And Tasha is like, Michaela should have put a list in her head, because she admits she would have wanted to be a part of this, but not now. And it was dumb for her to put it in writing. So she's going to back out of this. Michaela's on her own. Esther is basically saying the same thing. They're playing it very smart. They don't want any part of this smoke. And Michaela says Emmy's lying, but then Huey starts to back Emmy up, and Ashley just shuts him up immediately. Like, don't you open your mouth right now, Huey. And Emmy's just like, God is watching you, Michaela. God can see what you're doing. God's watching you. And Amanda and CT are losing it. They are red-faced. They are cackling. They are dying with laughter. Everyone else is trying not to laugh, except for Corey Lay and the American Survivors. And then Tommy's like, I can clear this up in just like less than a minute. Like, Michaela had a simple list, and like he starts to defend her, and then he just is like, fuck it. He's like, Michaela had a simple list, and it's exactly what Emmy said. And so people are laughing more. And Tori's like, well, what did you need numbers for? And he's like, well, we needed the numbers to take out Tori. That's when, like, I don't remember the last time my mouth has hung open watching this show, like, for 5 minutes straight. Because again, this is like 18 years of watching this. These people can surprise me, but not that much. But I literally was watching this just wide-eyed and open mouth, and like half laughing, but half gasping in horror that like this is going on the first deliberation. These are rookies. These rookies chose violence. Like, they are doing what they can to make a name for themselves, and they do not care. And Tori is like, well, all I've been hearing is that I'm mean, and I've never said your name, Michaela. And Michaela's like, well, Tori, you weren't even my target, but she never says who the target is. And then disembodied TJ comes back and he's like, it's time to vote. And of course, everyone votes for, Michaela and Renan because they just interrupted that conversation. And Anissa's just like, best of luck. and that's the end of probably the best deliberation I've ever seen. Runner up is Total Madness with Melissa versus Josh, where they're doing this snake thing, and then Melissa, who's pregnant, didn't know it, is up on the table on her tippy toes, like just screaming at Josh and calling him a twit and stuff. Like, you're a snake, you're a snake. And like Johnny and Nani are just like wheezing for air behind her. Like, I cannot, like, this whole episode was amazing. And I was like, am I just overly excited? But like the internet was raving about it as well. And I think a big part of it is these rookies. Even though the vets are trying to make it a rookie bloodbath, these are some of the most entertaining rookies I've ever seen. And they do have the numbers to flip this all on their head, especially with the way they're willing to play right now. If they don't cannibalize each other and they band up, this could be a crazy season.
Oh God. Yeah, it was a lot.
Watched
it really
that scene
was.
like 5 times since last night because I have it on Prime.
Literally, I turned the volume down because I'm like, this is the type of drama I didn't want to get into. Because it's just like Michaela's writing lists, and like, bro, it's different if you're just writing a list about just people. But no, because here's the thing, and here's something that everybody does. Everybody in that house has written lists before about this shit, but they keep it to themselves, or they keep it with their partner, keep it with people they can trust. The problem is, first and foremost, Emmy's a fucking snitch. Like, that's the thing. You didn't trust Emmy, so why the fuck did you even talk to her about some shit? And Tommy, instead of staying loyal, decided to just literally co-sign Emmy's shit, which sent Michaela just down the fucking river. And it's a lot. It really is. But like I said, and we don't know how the votes actually turned out. All we know is who the most people who got the votes were. No, they don't show who actually voted. Now, here's the thing. One of the reasons they don't show it, I feel like, is because the players know who they voted for, basically. Because instead of it being a secret ballot, it is literally everyone is sitting shoulder to shoulder with a freaking iPad in front of them, and they're just swiping and pressing who they want to be compromised. So there's nothing stopping you from looking at your neighbor, being like, "Who you vote for? Who you vote for, man? You know you need to vote for." Like, literally, there's nothing stopping them from pulling that crap. In which case, basically, Michaela and Renan literally get sent in. As far as the compromised agents. And so basically later that night, Logan and Anissa deliberate who to send in. They are thanking Emmy because Emmy at this point is the reason, or Emmy at this point is one, a focal point of chaos, and two, basically Anissa's logical thought is, let's send in the two people who have issues with each other, let them work it out, let them take each other out and call it a day. In which case Logan doesn't want that because he likes Emmy, and he doesn't want to send her in. So what ends up happening is elimination. They're calling it the Lair this season. Basically, you're going to come in, the compromise agent are going to come in and take care of this. But there's a plot twist because TJ literally says the agency can send down any man and any woman from any team to come out individually, which means this is the part where you can break teams up. This is the part where vets can truly make sure they send as many rookies home as possible, 2 by 2 each freaking week. This is the part where, if need be, rookies, if they can get the win and get the votes and get their shit together and stop selling each other down the damn river, they can actually make sure 2 vets go home a week, including CT and Ashley, who frankly, they have to go. These 2, if they get to a final, will win. And with this season, because one of the things that TJ doesn't mention, again, is the skull challenge, is the skull aspect, is literally You have to compete in the final to get. You have to compete in an elimination to get to my final. If you don't run it. Just pure and simple. It's not even a question. You want this final, you are gonna get into this elimination. Nobody's skirting by anymore. None of this BS of people making it to a final without ever going into an elimination. And that is what I love. That forces people to literally play their game differently. It's no longer vets versus rookies. Like, let's send all the rookies in, because now you send rookies in and they come back. That's rooks with skulls. That's rooks who can run a fucking final. In which case, now it's I need to secure my spot in the final and then never go in again. Now it's the vets need to go in there, hopefully against rookies, to see if they can beat them and then earn their spot in the final. And the fact that this isn't happening again this year is ticking me off, because I can already see vets are trying to skate by. You already see it. You already know it, that vets are trying to skip by and not trying to compete in anything and sending in as many rooks as possible because of the numbers. I get that. But also, it's just one of the things where this is where it opens the door for that again. And I honestly am tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing veterans serve up these rookies into the grinder to try and get them out, and then it ends up to where there's always at least one or two vets who never went into an elimination. Never went into an elimination. They either won a daily at the right time, or frankly, they made the right alliances. And especially people like CT. CT, who frankly you don't want to see in an elimination, because let's face it, most guys don't want him in there. Fessy, when he had a chance to man up and actually put CT in an elimination and go against him, he didn't want to do it. And it's just one of those things where it's like, bruh, I'm seeing this again, and it's just getting really frustrating. But anyway, we move forward. Basically, this throws everybody off, including Anissa. And so what ends up happening is Anissa selects Michelle to go down for the. Oh, sorry. Anissa selects Corey L to go down. Actually, no.
Yeah.
Anissa.
Yeah, Anissa starts it because they were going to do Emmy and Corey. So she says Corey, and Logan co-signs it. And then TJ has Logan start for the women. And remember, he's friends with Emmy. So instead of Emmy, he throws in Michelle, because the thinking was Emmy had a fight with Michaela in deliberation, but so did Michelle. And now that things are split up, you know, they can split up the teams and not hurt Michelle's partner. So they unfortunately, Corey kind of got screwed from this, but Michelle goes in and she's like, oh, okay. So we get Michaela and Renan versus Corey and Michelle. And this is smart. If these rookies can win enough to get vets in, this is how you can get super vets out. We'll get into poor Tracy in a moment, who I think only even had one confessional tonight. She's Devin's first partner. If you throw in like CT with Tracy into something physical against like another pair, whether it's vet or rookie, and both of them are physical, CT goes home. Like if you do like a CT and Tracy versus Emmy and Corey, my money's on Emmy and Corey, because Tracy's so small and doesn't look very athletic. Right. So if they use this to their advantage, they might still be sacrificing some rookies, but they can get out some super vets at the same time. Or for a vet, they might sacrifice some of their own, but they can get out the super vets. So this can make this season really interesting, depending on who is I forgot their name again, the power couple. I'm going to just call it the power couple, because that's
agency.
what it was. It's
called the agency, but yes, it literally just a fancy word.
It's the power couple.
Fancy word for the power couple. Just like elimination, they call it the gulag or something different every freaking year. In reality, it's just literally the freaking power couple. But yeah, so basically what's going on is, like you said, it's reverse tug of war. Pull your opponents to get them out. And what'll end up happening is winner stays, loser goes. And basically,
you got to get you got to get down your slide first, basically.
Very true. So they send in. So basically, it's a fight. It is a straight up dog fight trying to get these people out. And it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, holy shit, this is actually really dope. But at the same time, like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Long story. After a long battle and drawn out, Corey L and Michelle win, and Corey L proves himself as somebody who is a truly strong SOB and somebody you don't want to see down there if you can avoid it. In which case,
Corey, like, because I mean, Corey and Michelle win, but he pulled Michelle down too. And, you know, Michaela was struggling. Renan like dislocated his elbow or something. I haven't looked up what he actually did. I usually look up by now how people have hurt themselves, but we basically had like a 3-hour premiere, so I haven't done that yet. What is his name? I'll do that in a moment. Renan Hellmans, see if he mentions his injury. But yeah, it's like there is a struggle, but he was able to use that leverage. And this is something where we can see how even though he's a rookie, he hasn't been on the challenge, but that he is a super fan of the challenge and works to his advantage. And we saw this stuff with Paulie too, because Paulie was also a super fan, where he knows the technique of, you know, anchoring yourself down and then just slowly pushing forward instead of trying to flip immediately and crawl, because you're going to just expend more energy. And instead you can push down into the ground and hold position and then just scoot forward little by little and grip the edge as you go. So that way you're anchored there. And then at the end, how CT made a Johnny Bananas backpack, you know, he makes a backpack out of all three of them and just flips them all down and wins for the team. And this was amazing because he's a rookie. He didn't need to be down there. He kept his mouth shut. But also for someone who's doing this for Black queer youth, where in the past we've seen, you know, Black queer men be weak links and be first outs and used as layups. This man is someone to fear. This man is a competitor. He's someone, if he gets to a final, has a shot of winning a final. He's probably going to be around for years to come. I think he definitely probably gained a lot of fans. And I think a lot of these rookies and vets are going to be afraid to target him again at this point. He made a great showing. I think Michelle will get targeted again before Corey does.
Very true. I completely agree. It's one of those things where he definitely made a statement, and now we just gotta wait and see how he plays this game, see how he does it, and that is something I can't wait to see. But in the end, Michaela goes home along with Renan, and so what ends up happening is now we get the other twist of the night. Basically, what ends up happening, or what gets to happen now, is both Michelle and Tori both get to decide who they want their partners to be. They can pick each other, in which case they will be able to just be a team together. They can go and pick another team. Or they can go back to their original partners if they choose and just, you know, ride that out. Now, keep in mind, this is where we find out that Nam Nam was sent home. He could not compete. Angie confirmed for me before this podcast started, Tea Time with Angie. Basically, Nam Nam got COVID and was the reason they had to shut down, so Nam Nam got sent home. Now, let me phrase this. Nam Nam tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, it was a sickness. So Nam had symptoms, and that's how they were like, something is up. So he was actually sick. And they've confirmed that once that happened, they tested everyone again. And a few other people had COVID, but they were either like asymptomatic or extremely mild. And Nam was sick. And so they made everyone quarantine again. And this was, you know, all over the news where they had to be pulled out. And it was MTV's fault to begin with. The first time they did this for season 36, they quarantined for 14 days. This time they quarantined them for 7. And this happened probably like day 10, day 11. So if they had waited longer, I mean, the bad thing is Nam wouldn't have been on the season at all, but this wouldn't have happened where they had to shut down again for a full 2 weeks. And after the end of that second shutdown, everyone tested negative, but Nam was still sick. Because as we know, the bad thing about COVID is once you have symptoms, sometimes they go away within a couple days. Like some people, even if they felt horrible at first, they're back to normal within a few days. And some people, it just lingers and lingers and lingers. And luckily, it wasn't like a long COVID where you see people suffering for months, but he wasn't recovered in a way where he could continue competing in 2 weeks, because we know COVID targets, your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system. And especially since they had people on standby, he was sent home. And this is upsetting because Nam's had it rough. Like, he had to deal with Lolo for most of last season. The second Lolo's gone, his back goes out. He has to rehab a pretty severe back injury. Like, it was great to see him and Casey back because they both had pretty serious injuries last season. And then he gets COVID, he's out again. And I feel like we're still going to see him again because he's a fan favorite. And he did get a lot of screen time for episode 0, and he got some for episode 1, because episode 1, the first daily, happened before that shutdown. So there wasn't much of him for that. But I think that's a sign MTV doesn't just want to edit over him. They are going to bring him back, hopefully. And Nam's such a good guy that he's actually still promoting the season. A lot of people would have just been like, yeah, I was in like 1 episode, bye. But Nam is still, active in comments. He's sharing stuff about the challenge. I love him. He's a pure soul with a bit of like a snarky side. And I hope next season is his season. Like, he needs to come back and just win for everything he's been through at this point.
Very true. Very true. But yes, so we find out Nam does have to go home, in which case they have to bring in a replacement for Michelle in case she decides to go back with her original partner, in which case here it comes. What we end up seeing is Agent Ed from the Circle, the guy who brought his mom, in which case we end up seeing him rolling out. Everyone's just like, what's up? It's just Ed, because basically we've never had an Ed, or it's been a very few times where we just had Ed, into where literally we're just like, all right, so Ed's here now. This is cool, but at the same time, like, what's going to happen? So what ends up happening is they have so she has the option to go with Ed and basically roll with him, or the third option. Hold on one second. Sit. Oh, God, who cares? Oh,
and this is when we become an Inuyasha podcast.
Jesus Christ. P.S. For those of you wondering why I was moving earlier, dog pooped on the carpet, in which case I'm like, crap, I got to clean that up, literally. Anyway, so basically, they can go back to their original partners. They can become partners themselves, or, super plot twist, they can officially pick anybody they want and infiltrate any team besides the agency. That's it. In which case, basically what ends up happening is Coriel takes Tori, in which case she's a little sad that she doesn't have access to that body of Kells anymore. And Kells is upset because, frankly, he knows now he's a target, because if he was with a vet, she would have protected him and she would have kept him safe. P.S. Coriel is pissed off to begin with going into this because he basically got screwed over, because they thought that they were going to send in his partner. That didn't happen, in which case he got thrown in simply because who his partner was and didn't say shit and didn't deserve it. But in the end, he still won. He gets to pick Tori, in which case he's trying to get that security blanket. I don't blame him, because at this point, they already know vets are trying to run this game. You're safer with one than against it, because the Rooks can't get their shit together. And then what ends up happening is Michelle ends up deciding to pick, out of everybody she could have picked, she picks Devin, because guess what? Devin volunteered. Literally, Devin was like, and I'm just like, we're just like, oh God, classic Devin.
Devin does not like Tracy, and Tracy's like the weakest, I feel, of all of them. And with Devin being so tall and in the back, it's a discreet move where it goes over like literally everyone else's head, because they're all like, I don't know why she would pick Devin. I mean, when there's options like CT up there, why would you pick Devin? But she just didn't want to rock the boat any more than she already has. And Devin's just quietly like, and so she knows Devin wants to be her partner. And so they are paired up. And so that means, that Ed and Emmy are now partners. And also Kells and Tracy are partners. So Kells is even more pissed because he lost Tori and got Tracy. Emmy is just like, it's whatever. Ed, he's like a Cornell educated track and field athlete. He's got muscle on him. He looks like he could be a good competitor. So Emmy's just like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll rock with Ed. Ed's just happy to be in here because he was an alternate as the last person in on the circle. Now he's an alternate on the challenge, and suddenly he's on the challenge. So I think you could have given him anyone, and this man would have been excited.
This dude's happy to get out of Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. This dude's happy to get out of Pennsylvania at this point. Mm-hmm. However the hell you say his hometown. That is all this dude is happy about. And he gets a chance to make some money doing it and do a bunch of cool shit. That is what this dude is mainly happy about. So he's super just happy to be here.
Yeah, it's the end of a good first episode. And, everyone goes back to the house. And we see we see the trailer again for the millionth time, which I love the trailer, so I don't mean that derogatively, but I'm not going to break the trailer down because they keep showing it over and over in both of these episodes, 0 and 1. So it's like, watch the episode and you'll see it. And then the thing that's not really a spoiler because it's all over the trailers and she's even on the cast list page on MTV is last season's female winner, Amber, is coming at some point because she is in the trailer competing. She's in elimination. She's, hooking up with people. She's fighting with people. So at some point, Amber comes in. And just as I mentioned for last episode, when I recapped episode 0 of how we're seeing more of Casey finally, which I like, because if they're going to keep using Casey, like I want something more dimensional than what we've gotten. It looks like from the previews, we're going to see more of Amber, where Amber was pretty much forgotten about till towards the end. And then all of a sudden she has a lot of confessionals and she wins. And everyone's just shocked because she had the weirdest edit I've ever seen on reality TV for a winner. And it looks like she's going to bring stuff this season. We're going to see a lot more of her. And I'm super excited to learn more about our reigning champ. Amber, I would say, if it came to her versus Ashley, I would say target Ashley because Amber is a strong runner. Where if you have someone like CT who can do everything else and your job is to run, she's great. But as we've seen, she can get tripped up really easily with stuff like math. She's not the strongest person. So coming in, there's about to be 3 champs, but I think Ashley's still the bigger target. Ashley's probably also going to be easier to take out in elimination. Heaven forbid Amber and CT both reach the final again, because then they're just going to mop the floor and win. But I'm excited to see Amber and especially see more sides of her. I don't know if she's coming in to replace, what's her name? Lauren, Josh's partner. I don't know if someone gets hurt and we see it because I won't say who, but it's in the trailer. We do see a vet is being taped up, her like arm or chest is being taped up and she's injured. We also see a male rookie down on the ground with like the meds around him. So I don't know if it's from one of them, if it's from Lauren getting kicked off. We'll see what happens to get Amber into this show, but I'm happy that she can just be Amber and not Amber B this time.
At this point, I'm trying to find this Lauren person and see an actual picture of them.
Her name is Lauren Coogan, and I know she is from Love Island, and it's something weird where I think she's from the US but moved to Britain, and was on UK like Love Island, so they're counting her as international, but she's American, and I was hoping to see her because some people said she has a fake British accent. So I'm kind of sad she got removed because she sounds like crazy. There's articles where she's already trying to do damage control and be like, I didn't do anything wrong. But like I said, from what I've heard, the episode where she would leave would be next episode, but since they're basically editing around her, they're giving her the Eddie from Vendetta's treatment. They might not even address it. It might just be all of a sudden she's gone. But since she is partnered with Josh, I feel like they have to say something, because on Vendetta's they weren't paired up, so it was easy to just remove Eddie and not even replace him. Hopefully we get to see what happened, because I would rather, I understand why they did that with Eddie, because it was a restraining order issue with people on the show, but for her, I would rather see the fight, even if they water it down like they did the Camilla versus Leroy thing. I'd rather see it and it makes sense than all of a sudden just, oh, Josh's partner disappeared. Like if Nam was suffering from COVID, of course he couldn't physically be there, but she's there. They need to say something on the show.
We will see. But with this season, you can already tell it's one of those things where it's already in the preview. The vets' truce is shaky at best because they don't trust each other, and you can already tell Fessy and Nelson have issues. They're gonna have issues. There's gonna come a point where I really truly do feel like it's gonna come a point where Nelson is gonna try and just screw Fessy over, and damn the consequences. It's like, you know what, vets can hate me, or it may come down to it. You know what, they said, fuck it, I'm gonna send him in, and I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna send his ass home because he sent me home, and it is what it is. Fessy, Nelson's already admitted at some point maybe they can go back to being friends, but that will not be as close as they'll never be as close as they once were, because Nelson considered him a brother at one point, and Fessy just literally threw all that away for nothing. He threw all that away for a challenge he didn't even finish. He quit on, and I will continue to say this every fucking time for season 36.
He did quit.
Casey busted her knee, which I accept. But the reason they went home is because of Fessy. Fessy fucking quit, and he just stopped. Fessy's got no fucking heart when it comes to that shit. And then literally tries to play it off. Yes, this season, in which case now he's trying to be this guy is like, dude, I fucked up and I admit that. I'm like, oh great, you're owning your shit after first of all, you got dogged most of the entire fucking recap episode or reunion episode, the first one and half the second one. Now suddenly you want to come on this show and be like, yeah, I fucked up last season, dude. And it's like, yeah, of course you did. And now you want to sit there and try and get your friend back, bro? No, it don't work like that. You literally screwed him over. Not only did you stab him in the back, you literally went out of your way to hurt this motherfucker to make sure he couldn't finish or beat you in this shit. No, they ain't coming back. There's no coming back from that. And then all you can say is, I screwed up. No, you're right. You did screw up. And not only did you screw up, you dumbass didn't, like you said, dumbass didn't even win. It would have been different if you would have said, I picked money over friendship. It is what it is. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I ended up winning. You can't even say that. You went home on the first day because of you, not because of your partner, in which case I'm very curious to see how they address that. Because I'm sorry, if I'm Casey, make no mistake, I had a busted knee. My partner's the reason I didn't go. My partner is just as much to blame as me for not going through. I had a busted knee. He quit. I had a busted knee, and I was willing to limp and crawl my ass throughout this final until they literally had to tell me, you have to go home. Fessy is the one who said, I'm not about to eat this crap. We're gonna go. We're not even gonna win. There's no point. It is what it is. We lost. And then has nerve enough to blame Casey. And I don't give a fuck what anyone says. He mostly thought that was Casey's fault. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. You quit.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't know, because we're seeing more of Casey this season. And it seems like she is still in the Big Brother Alliance, but she's more allied with Nani currently. And she's also a nice person. Where even like she kind of put an arm around Fessy as she was like limping her way into the distance in the final last time. I feel like it's more likely to come up from Devin, Josh, or Nelson than from Casey, because we've already seen Nelson pull the card of, you didn't even win. I feel like it's going to come up, but it's going to be from one of them instead of Casey, because Casey's just too good for this world.
It may come from fucking Josh at this point. That may be what sets them the fuck off.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited to see what happens with that fight and if Devin instigated it. But like you said, the vet, it's not an alliance. The vet truce is shaky. Even Kyle has a soundbite where he's like, this is a shaky alliance. I feel like there's going to be a rookie bloodbath for the first few episodes. Because even when there were skulls, it was usually a vet trying to throw a rookie in with them and get an easy win. So just the way the show goes, unfortunately, it's the earn your stripes philosophy. I feel like the first couple weeks we are going to see rookies being thrown in. And then I think the vet alliance is going to implode and it's going to be a free for all at that point.
And then I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to hate the first couple of weeks. I get it's earn your stripes, but also just good God. It's one of those things where, you know what, vets, you got to earn your shit too every season. That card, I'm like, no offense. It's one of those things where it's like you have Super Bowl champions like freaking Gronkowski having a philosophy of every year you got to earn your shit. That you don't get to skate by on reputation. The Pats being a six-time Super Bowl champion doesn't mean they get a bye or a pass in the fucking playoffs. Every season they start off at 0 and they go back and they win and they have to go back and earn their shit and win their shit. Same goes for here. Congratulations, you're a 4-time champion. You still need to earn your shit, which is why I miss and truly want that skull thing. That's true. The skull rule to truly just stick around. You have to go in to get in. You have to go into elimination and win to get into a final. No more of this. I'm going to skate by on politics. I'm going to skate by on my name. I'm going to skate by on my size, because I'll admit this isn't just a recent thing. That's always been a thing. You don't want to go in against somebody you're going to lose against. And if it's something physical, you don't want to go in against somebody bigger than you. That's how Big Easy, aka Eric, of course, that's how he made it to a final where he damn near died trying to run the damn final. Nobody wants to send his big ass in because nobody wants to go against his big ass. And I get it, because if it's a physical thing where it involves pushing, shoving, anything that involves you having to go through your opponent, who's moving that 330 plus pound man? Nobody. CT isn't even moving his ass. It's just a straight. He's going to get lower than you and he's going to just swallow you the fuck up. That's just how it is. And people are afraid of CT, and they should be, because CT is a fucking monster. He is the beast of this show, and he's won 4 champions. And he's won 4 of these damn things. He's a 4-time champion. And it's just one of those things where that is what I missed, and that's what I liked about the last 2 seasons. And this is something I wish they'd keep going, because with the last 2 seasons, you got to win to get in. You got to win elimination to get into my final, to run my final. You got to risk it all, and you may come up empty. And some people did, and it is what it is. But you know what? It forced you to play the game separately. To an extent, it forced you to play the game fair. Because make no mistake, you may have had an unfavorable matchup, but everybody had to make their peace with, I'm going into this challenge. I'm going into an elimination this season. And I better win if I want to make a final. If I can't win it, I'm going home. And this season, it's not going to be like that. This season, it's going back to the old school ways and old school rules of let me politic and do whatever I have to do to make sure I don't go into an elimination. And especially with all these rookies that are here that apparently can't get their shit together and actually work together, I'm going to manipulate, I'm going to politic, and I'm going to continue to try and stay in power as long as possible with the other veterans and their rookies who are in tow. And I'm going to do my best to make sure my ass doesn't go into an elimination. And with these rules, It's guaranteed, especially with all these rookies, because that's how this game is built right now. With literally over 17 rookies already, 17, probably 20 in total, 20 to 25. Because let's face it, there's only 9 to 10 vets. There's only 9 to 10 vets on this show. Everybody else is a rookie. In which case, it's just one of those things where it's literally built for these vets to run this game and literally send in rooks until there's nobody left but your partner. And guess what? With elimination, the power couple, the agency can literally break up anybody. That just means literally there is no point, there is no fear if a veteran wins. As long as a veteran wins, they will send in a rookie. And as long as a rookie wins, and here's the thing, every vet has a rookie for now. There will come a point where two vets are going to get together. There's going to come a point where a veteran team, where the agency is going to find a way to throw themselves in and eliminate somebody just so that way they can just risk breaking themselves up and say, I want somebody else. And that person, one of them is going to be a vet. And I guarantee if they win it, they're picking a vet. And that'll be the true power team, because it's two veterans who are, whether they've won or not, it's two veterans. And so they know if they get the agency power at that point, that's when it's open season. That's when they know, okay, literally sending in two rookies. The house needs to figure out who the fuck you're putting in, but make no mistake, they're going in against two rookies. I don't like the way that game is played. I don't like how this is going so far. We'll see how it goes. I get you like the topsy-turvy type stuff. I like you gotta win to get in. I truly do. That's what made this show refreshing for me. You need to go into elimination to earn your skull. Vets no longer get a free pass because there's a shit ton of rookies to go ahead of you. No. Yeah, earn your stripes. Everybody earns their stripes this season. Everybody earns their stripes, because guess what? In every pro game, damn near every major sporting game in our country, the big three, football, basketball, baseball, guess what? You're a champion. You won last year. That's great. Newsflash, you're starting off the same way everyone the fuck else is. Your new season, you're at 0-0. You want that championship, you better go out there and do everything the fuck over again. You have to literally renew your championship status, renew your fucking credit. If you can't do it, you don't deserve to be a champion that year, and you don't get it. And that is what I want. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
We have to have a TED Talk every week. I love your TED Talk. They're like a staple at this point.
Oh my God, it's just really annoying. This is one of the reasons why I stopped watching this show. It's like, just honestly, this is one of the reasons I stopped watching the show, because it's just tearing down to the same thing. Vets versus rookies. No matter how it was stationed, how it was positioned, it was vets versus rookies. It was literally, you're a rookie, you haven't been on here before, you're going in. You are going, no, you're going in. You're going in. We're going to find a way to get you in. You are not about to, in which there was always only maybe a few rookies who were lucky enough, because of their partner who was a veteran, who avoided it, and the only reason for that was purely because the veteran didn't want to go in. So they said, rookie, shut up and listen to me, do as I say, and guess what? We won't go in. I don't want to go into it. So keep your ass in check, and I'll make sure you stay out of it too. You want to win this money? You want to win this money? Great. You want to go into elimination? No? Then shut the fuck up and do as I say. And that's always one or a few lucky rookies who got to do that. Oh, God. So we'll see how this goes. This is going to be a tough season for me to watch, just because I'm automatic. It's first episode and I'm already tired, and I just don't want to deal with rookies getting thrown in repeatedly to earn their stripes and vets just skating by because of their status.
We will see what happens. Hopefully the bloodbath is short lived. But because for anyone who stumbled upon this one and not our 0, we've recorded both episode 0 and episode 1 recaps back to back. So we've been recording for like 4 hours now.
Yep.
So we are going to wrap, but we're back. We're back. Thanks for everyone who listened to our circle recap in our off season. But yeah, so social media. So you can find me on all social media at the Angie Chew. Of course, some of you guys are watching this on YouTube right now, which is youtube.com/the Angie Chew. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at the Angie Chew as well. I welcome followers. I welcome you to talk to me. If you are rude or send me pictures of your genitals, I will block you. I'm quick to do the block button. But I'm also a very friendly person. So just be nice, and I'm cool to talk to people. I love talking to people. And as you'll hear in a second, some of our fans find Papa D in places he doesn't want them to.
You can find me. You can find me at Papa D618 on the Twitter. You can find me on the Snapchat at Papa D618. You can find me on the Instagram at Papa D618. You can find me on Facebook. Do not look for me on Facebook. At this point, there's too much BS going on there to where if you add me, if it's a random friend request, I do not respond. I do delete it, or worse, I leave you in limbo. If I don't know you, I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna be your friend on Facebook. If you really want to be a friend of me on Facebook, message me, find me on the messenger and say, hey, I listen to your podcast, I'm a fan. At that point, we'll talk, maybe. Just because you could be a scammer, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm super paranoid. And you can also find me on the TikTok at @PapaD_618. If you find me on the TikTok, send me videos of you being an old soul, because you know what? I can admit it. I'm a 31-year-old man, and you know what? I live like a 70-year-old. I'm in a habit. I'm crotchety. She's super nice. Angie is super nice, and that's great for her. I recommend following her. I'm a crotchety old man who doesn't like to do a lot. I go to movies at like 11 o'clock in the morning on weekends because I found out a super amazing secret that I'm going to reveal for you all. The movie that you see at Friday at 7 o'clock that just came out that night, it's the same movie that shows on Saturday morning at like 11. The only difference, the price. $15 for a movie ticket on a Friday night is $7.50 on a freaking 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and it's the same movie. There's no extra credit scenes or anything like that. Believe me, if there was, that would be something. There isn't. There's no extra scenes. There's no deleted scenes. There's no anything. It's the same damn movie, word for word, on Saturday morning as it is on Friday night. In which case, it's just one of those things where I'm a crotchety ass old man looking for either a crotchety ass old woman or some young piece of ass who just has daddy issues. I don't know. But anyway, peace, love, and pancakes, y'all.
I was gonna grab a secret fan. Hang on.
Oh God. In the meantime, when this season is over, we'll see what happens. Me and Angie will either do another show. Hi, kid. We'll either do another show, or we may just make a few random podcasts about just random stuff. Each of us will just bring a topic and we'll just talk about it for an undetermined amount of time and call it a day. But hey, kid, what up? For those of you who are seeing this is Xander, her son, in which case we recently went out to dinner with a few of our friends, and I just told Angie, because he was just chilling there, I'm just like, oh God, this thing is just gonna make every person's baby fever just go into high gear. And I flat out told her, I guarantee some of our friends are fucking right now. It was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm just like, some of my friends are fucking right now, just trying to make them like, I want another Xander. I want a baby. I want a baby. I'm just like, oh God. I'm just like, thank God I'm single, and thank God I don't have baby fever. Jesus. But anyway, peace, love, and pancakes, y'all.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to the Angie Chu Podcast Radio Network.